What happens when you mix sexy manga characters, a PS3 and an Australian feminist? Hyperdimension Neptunia Mk2 is a 2011 Japanese role-playing game co-developed by Compile Heart and Idea Factory for release on the PlayStation 3. It is the second installment in the Hyperdimension Neptunia franchise. The four felons have defeated the goddesses of game industry and have taken them captive. With the goddesses missing, piracy runs rampant in the land. It is now up to Nepgear and the other CPU candidates to find a way to beat the four felons and to stop Afwa's revival. Neptunia Mk2 is an example of a JRPG that is quite popular in Japan, but hasn't been so well received by audiences outside the country. According to VG Charts, as of the 27th of September 2014, about 90,000 copies of the game have been sold in Japan, and only about 10,000 copies have been sold internationally. It's safe to say that the game seems rather obscure to Australian audiences when compared with some other JRPGs that have had enormous success in Western countries, including America, France, and Australia. We chose this game because we thought it was an example of a Japanese RPG that would make for some great conversation due to its portrayal of women and its less than inspiring reception among Western audiences. Interestingly, although the game was not exactly a roaring success among Western audiences, it did receive better reviews than Hyperdimension Mk1, which contributed to our decision to use the game in our study. We wanted to look at the differences in gameplay and also focus on the portrayal of women in the game. This is Morgan. Morgan is a fourth-year creative arts student majoring in drama at UAW. Morgan is quite familiar with video games and plays on a semi-regular basis, but had never heard of the game before. We chose Morgan for the role of guinea pig in our experiment because of her previous gaming experience and her stance on feminism. Morgan identifies as a feminist, and we wanted to capture her reaction to some of the characters in the game.
It's very interesting that all the main characters wear no clothes. Even the female villain. So many stereotypes. Why? I don't understand. I didn't realize there were tentacles. So what?
Direction.
Direction ones? I'm confused.
Okay, analog stick.
Oh, okay. I want more, like, battle sequences, but considering how long it took me to figure out that first one. So is this how most JRPGs?
Do you feel like you would have been able to
in 3 years
think that this was, if you hadn't seen the intro song?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you would have been able to pick where this was made?
Yeah. I don't know. Because of the animation, for one, it's got a style that is very particular to Japan. But also because the writing isn't, it doesn't sound like it's written for an English audience. And that I feel like it's been translated.
You've been laughing a lot throughout the game. Why?
I think because, as we said earlier, I'm aware of the tropes, and it amuses me that they use.
Do you find the game that's not very interactive?
Yes. Yeah. I'm just clicking through to hear them speak more about what's happening.
Do you find that tedious?
Yes. But I feel like there's better ways of storytelling. I feel like you can tell the story through gameplay. The fact that we've been playing for 20 minutes now and nothing has happened yet.
So with that being said, can you say anything about the stereotypes and the types of characters that have been played out so far, and can you make any connections to maybe Western RPGs?
It is obviously very interesting, they're all females, but you've got Komba, who is, as I said before, the innocent, nervous, ingenue kind of character who's scared about everything. You've got IF, who is what is typically a male character in my experience that is the badass kind of, I don't care, you guys are being dumb, her character, I can't explain that better, Iswa, who is the smart overseer of everything, typically a dude with a white beard. And I have realised now that I'm probably wrong about IF, not the main character, Nep is the main character. Who so far I haven't gotten a read on yet.
With all those like characters in mind, you said before that you think that, or you feel that this game is geared toward heterosexual males and homosexual females.
I felt like that scene would appeal to those people. It panders to males by having girls in tight, short clothing, but I feel like the fact that it is an all-female cast would certainly appeal to females. The fact that I saw the cover and went, oh, cool, it's all girls, says to me that it's probably for girls. It's probably marketed towards them. But I have problems with them, the portrayal of the females.
Now that you've actually started playing, what do you think of the game?
I'm still figuring it out, but...
So you can hit as many as...
Hell yeah!
So you hit both of them?
Okay, what do we got? I looked that up.
That's right! Nothing will count. For the sake of those who believe in me.
First off, we talked for a long time about how getting into the game took
forever.
Yes.
Yeah. That's one of the main reasons why we picked out that game, because it fits very well into the JRPG archetype and the various tropes that exist there. And so it was definitely something that got picked up on and something that Morgan cited as a deterrent to continuing the game. Which is a shame, because she brought up that once she got into gameplay, she was very happy to continue playing and was enjoying the game.
So it's quite common for JRPGs to have really long introductions?
Yeah, they generally, the main appeal is the story, and so they spend a lot of time setting up the story at the start of the game. Some games definitely take a shorter amount of time to do that, or do it with gameplay interspersed, but it just doesn't exist in Hyperdimension.
To what we, just going back to what we talked about in our Pokemon video, the gameplay doesn't take nearly as long to get into, and I know that's a style of JRPG.
Yeah, it was interesting though that it got cited by Sue in Pokemon that it still felt like it was taking a while to get into, because you go through a whole big slew of setup with you just talking to the professor at the start of the game.
Right.
And so she felt like that was a deterrent, even though it's something that's been in the game.
It's also that's also because Sue just didn't want to play the game as well.
It's true.
She was more impatient.
Yeah.
Morgan was a bit more patient, although it did still take a really long time. So her patience kind of got a bit worn down. But then, as you said, once she finally got into the gameplay, she was happy to keep playing.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it was also necessary to have all the start bit, because she wouldn't have understood the game, which is the point of playing it, right?
That was also something that Morgan pointed out. She said that a good previous knowledge of gaming and the game industry would have helped with understanding the initial storyline.
Morgan didn't really have difficulty with this because she's played a lot of games and plays RPGs regularly, just not JRPGs, but still found that she understood most of the references of what was going on and was able to keep up to a certain degree with what was happening in the game.
And somebody who obviously didn't have this knowledge would struggle, as previously said.
I know that you had a bit of difficulty.
Yeah, I was really lost, and I was like, I have no idea what was going on. Also, because I was filming, so I wasn't as paying as much attention.
I found it really difficult just watching Morgan play the game and trying to take the story into account. I was having trouble keeping up, so I can understand why it would be difficult even as a regular game player.
It is one of the criticisms with the game that it does have a high density of knowledge required to keep up with the story, and that's something that happens a lot in JRPGs as well, with their complex and intricate storylines.
So one other thing, the main thing that Morgan pointed out is the portrayal of the female characters in the game.
Yeah, we had a bit of a dichotomy going on. She, even from looking at just the case of the game, she realised quickly two things. Firstly, that there was a lot of sexualized females
Sort of
And-
young-looking, sexualized females, especially.
And secondly, that all the characters were female. And so she was happy about the fact that there were lots of female characters, and she was also unhappy with the fact that there were the sexualized tropes in there.
With this dichotomy going on, who do you think that the game is marketed at?
Well, it's supposed to be marketed at a male audience, which is understandable with the sexualization, but it's also meant to be accessible to a female audience as well, because you do have the female role models and all of that going on, and not all of the characters are sexualized.
Yeah.
Just some of them, like the main characters are sexualized, but a lot of the supporting characters that also do important things in the game aren't quite as sexualized and have stronger personalities, which I think helps. And it was something that Morgan picked up on with the character of IF. She really identified with, who was taking charge and kind of pushing forward the plot and what they were all doing.
Do you think that this representation of women in Neptunia translates to other JRPGs or the portrayal of women in other games? Do you think that there's anything going on there?
The tropes definitely are far-reaching, even into anime and various other genres of games and other media. They definitely exist, and they also carry over into other games not necessarily produced in Japan and not necessarily identifying as a JRPG. But they're definitely more prevalent because it's where they started out from.
Yeah.
It is seeing a spread though.
Yeah, I've been reading, and obviously as time progresses, games are becoming inclusive of more different portrayals of women and of people in general, and also as the range of people who play them, the audiences that play them, have to kind of align the portrayal to appeal to audiences to sell games, obviously. And